What if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, pouring yourself a cup of coffee, and then suddenly, without any warning, the Earth simply stops rotating. No gradual slowdown, no time to prepare, just instant stillness. What would happen? Spoiler alert, it would not be a good day. Right now, as you're sitting, standing, or lying in bed watching this video, you are moving at a tremendous speed. If you live on the equator, you're racing around the center of the Earth at about 1,670 kilometers per hour. Even in Europe or the United States, you're still moving at over 1,000 kilometers per hour. You don't notice this because the atmosphere, the oceans, and the ground beneath your feet are all moving along with you. But if Earth suddenly stops spinning, everything not nailed down, oceans, air, people, cars, buildings, would keep moving at that same speed. So, in the very first second after the Earth stopped, the atmosphere would rip itself away from the surface. A wall of air, faster than the speed of sound, would tear across the land, flattening forests, cities, and mountains. Skyscrapers would crumble. Cars would tumble and roll like dice. And you? Well, unless you were in a bunker underground, you'd suddenly be flying through the air at over 1,000 kilometers per hour. Basically, the entire surface of the planet would become one gigantic car crash. But let's imagine you somehow survived that initial apocalypse. Lucky you. What comes next? The oceans, which were peacefully resting in their basins, would suddenly surge forward. Tsunamis hundreds of meters tall would sweep across continents, carrying entire coastlines with them. Within hours, most of the land near the equator would be underwater. Meanwhile, the poles would start drying out because the water would no longer be pulled toward the equator by centrifugal force. In a few weeks, new oceans would begin forming around the equator, while vast stretches of land near the poles would become deserts. The sky would also never be the same again. Normally, the Earth's spin gives us day and night every 24 hours. But without rotation, one side of the Earth would face the sun constantly, while the other would face eternal darkness. On the day side, temperatures would skyrocket until the ground cracked from the heat. Rivers and lakes would boil away, and plants would shrivel within days. On the night side, temperatures would plunge far below freezing. Oceans there would slowly turn to ice, and the air itself might start to liquefy. Imagine Antarctica, but stretched across half the planet. And then there's the atmosphere. Without rotation, the Coriolis effect, responsible for shaping winds and storms, would vanish. No hurricanes, no cyclones, no trade winds. Weather systems as we know them would collapse. Instead, we'd get a brutal pattern, permanent scorching winds on the day side, howling across the surface toward the icy night side. Global weather would essentially be one continuous storm that never ends. Our rotation creates the magnetic field that protects us from deadly radiation from the sun. If the Earth stopped, that protective shield would eventually fade, leaving the surface exposed to solar and cosmic rays. In other words, even if you survived the tsunamis, the flying cars, the boiling heat, and the ice storms, you'd probably end up fried by radiation within a few decades. But maybe you're wondering, what about gravity? Would it change? The answer is, slightly. At the equator, the spin of the Earth gives you a tiny outward push, like being on a merry-go-round. Without it, you'd actually weigh about 0.5% more. Not a big deal compared to everything else going on, but hey, at least you'd get to blame your new weight on physics. So, is there any silver lining to all of this? Well, without rotation, we wouldn't have time zones anymore. No more confusion about when your friend in another country is awake. Also, sunsets and sunrises would vanish, replaced by an endless, slow twilight at the edge between day and night. And if you lived right on that narrow line, the terminator between light and darkness, you might have the only spot on Earth where life could actually survive. Temperatures there might be tolerable, crops could grow, and humans could adapt. But you'd have to live on a razor-thin strip of land that constantly shifts as the planet wobbles around the sun. To be clear though, the Earth isn't going to suddenly slam on the brakes. Physics simply doesn't allow it. Stopping the planet would take more energy than anything we could imagine, far beyond the power of every bomb, every volcano, and every star we've ever seen. The good news? That means this nightmare scenario will stay safely in the world of imagination.